Let's talk about W. Edwards Deming. He was a management consultant whose ideas totally transformed Japan's economy after the war and really set the stage for what we now call total quality management. But his entire massive philosophy, it all started with one simple but revolutionary question.
So think about it for a second. When a product comes off the assembly line with a defect, or maybe a service just doesn't meet expectations, whose fault is it? Who gets the blame? It seems like a pretty straightforward question, right? But believe me, how you answer it, well, that changes absolutely everything. For a long, long time, the answer was obvious, right? If something was wrong, it had to be the worker's fault. And the solution was just as obvious. Inspect things more, punish mistakes, and just tell people to try harder. But Deming, he looked at this whole setup and realized it was completely, fundamentally backward.
To really get the genius of Deming's revolution, you first have to understand the flawed system he was reacting to, the management style that was dominant for most of the 20th century.
So early in his career, Deming saw this thing called the piecework system up close. Basically, a worker's pay was tied directly to how much they produced. But, and here's the catch, at the end of the line, inspectors would find any defective items and subtract them from your pay. Deming saw this and thought it was not only degrading for the worker, but it was also just incredibly inefficient. The whole focus was on catching mistakes at the very end, not preventing them from ever happening in the first place. And this is where Deming drops his bombshell. He comes in with this radical counter-argument. He realized that this entire system of blame, it was aimed at completely the wrong target. The real problem wasn't where everybody thought it was. Okay, get ready for this. This is the number that started the entire revolution. Deming argued that a staggering 85% of all quality problems were caused by the system itself, by management's rules, processes, and policies. Only 15% could actually be traced back to an individual worker. I mean, just let that sink in. For every single problem caused by a person on the line, 5 or 6 more were caused by the broken system they were forced to work in. And that was the huge mental shift. The problem wasn't lazy or careless workers. The problem was at the top. For Deming, it was management's job, their responsibility, to design and improve the system. And if that system is flawed, you have no right to blame the people who are just trying to operate within it. Now, Deming wasn't just some guy pointing fingers and complaining. He didn't just diagnose the disease. He created the cure. He laid out a detailed blueprint for a total transformation of management itself. He laid this whole philosophy out in his famous 14 points. And these were not just, some friendly suggestions you could pick and choose from. Deming insisted they were an all-or-nothing package. He literally wouldn't work with a company unless the CEO personally committed to implementing all of them, because he knew that cherry-picking would just lead to failure. This slide just lays out the difference so clearly. Instead of relying on mass inspection at the end of the line, Deming's way is to build quality into the process from the very start. Instead of always awarding business to the cheapest supplier, you build long-term trusting relationships. And this one is huge. Stop managing with arbitrary numbers and quotas that just create fear. Instead, you institute real leadership. And when you zoom out from the list, you start to see these powerful, recurring themes. It's about having a long-term purpose, not just desperately hitting quarterly targets. It's about driving fear out of the workplace, empowering people, and, actually removing the barriers that stop them from taking pride in what they do. It is, at its heart, a deeply human way to run a business. But, and this is a big but, to really transform an organization like this, a leader needs way more than just a checklist. Deming said they needed a completely new mindset, a whole new way of seeing the world. He called this the system of profound knowledge, and it wasn't just some abstract theory. For him, this was the intellectual toolkit, the lens a leader absolutely needed to truly understand and improve their organization. This diagram shows the 4 parts, and you can see they're all interconnected. First, you need an appreciation for a system, seeing how all the pieces fit together. Second, knowledge of variation. That's understanding the difference between a normal statistical hiccup and a real problem. Third, a theory of knowledge, which is really about understanding how we learn and improve. And fourth, psychology, knowing what actually motivates people. The key here is that you can't just have one. A real leader sees the world through all 4 of these lenses at the same time. Okay, so let's apply this. Think about a super common practice, the annual performance appraisal. Deming absolutely despised it.
because it violates every single part of his system of profound knowledge. Statistically, it wrongly ranks people who are all just being affected by the same system. Psychologically, it demotivates people, it creates fear, it fosters rivalry. And from a systems point of view, it makes individuals try to look good, often at the expense of the entire team or company. It's a perfect example of how this framework reveals deep, deep flaws in things we just take for granted. Ultimately, every single one of Deming's ideas, the 14 points, profound knowledge, all of it, comes back to one central, powerful concept. You have to see your organization not as a collection of individuals, but as a single, integrated system. Deming called this the chain reaction, and it just flips conventional business logic right on its head. It all starts with improving quality. Now, what happens then? Well, your costs actually go down because you have less waste, less rework. When costs fall, productivity improves. And now you've got a better product at a lower price, so you capture the market. This allows you to stay in business and ultimately provide more jobs. It's this incredible positive feedback loop. And this flowchart shows you what that system really looks like. It's not just a production line. It starts way back with your suppliers, moves through design, testing, production, and all the way out to your customers. And crucially, that feedback from customers then feeds right back into a constant cycle of redesign and improvement. Every single part depends on every other part. A failure anywhere in this chain ripples through the entire system. This might be Deming's most profound and challenging quote of all. Just think about it. It means there are no accidents. The results you are getting right now, the good, the bad, the ugly, are the direct output of the system you have designed, whether you designed it on purpose or not. And that leaves us with one final, very personal, and maybe uncomfortable question. I want you to look at your own team, your own company, your own organization. Based on the results you're getting, day in and day out, what is your system perfectly designed to achieve? The answer might just surprise you.